In this video, we'll recap Social Security issues that you viewed in the prior two videos and also take a look at a couple other issues. On this slide, you see a recap of U.S. federal spending in 2012. Notice the sizable weight that Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security have in the overall federal spending. We're looking at 45%. When I think about recapping the issues of old age, survivor, and disability and health insurance offered through the Social Security system, I think about who's eligible. Who will the benefits be paid to? How long do those payments go on, those benefits going on? And also, exactly what is the benefit amount and how does that go up and down? You've already taken a look at many of these issues. In this video, what I'll do is recap some of these and also go beyond that. So how do we pay for coverage? And as you know, we do that through FICA. This recap page shows that it is contributed to by the employer and the employee. The Social Security tax, 6.2% is paid by the employee, 6.2% is paid by the employer. If someone is self-employed, they're paying both parts of that, so we're looking at 12.4%. Medicaid, similarly, 1.45% by the employer, 1.45% by the employee. The self-employed pays 2.9%. Now, one little bit of a difference here is that Social Security has a wage cap. Although, with all the pressures right now in the system, one of the discussed remedies is to do away with this wage cap. But currently it's still in effect. The wage cap tends to go up each year. For 2012, as you can see, it was $110,100. So you'd be paying that 6.2% up to $110,100, nothing after that. 2013, it went up by $2,600, and you can see it's $113,700. Note that Medicare has no wage cap. Moreover, there's a surplus tax that we'll take a look at. You can see that the self-employed pays tax on 92.35% of net earnings because these payments come out first. So let's take a look at that Medicare surtax on unearned income law that became effective January 1st of 2013. There is a 3.8% Medicare surtax on net investment income in excess of a threshold. So two important parts there. It's looking at the net investment income, and that is based upon excess over a threshold. The threshold is based on the modified adjusted gross income. Currently, it's $200,000 for a single person, $250,000 for a married couple filing jointly. So let's take a look at an example. We have a couple who's married filing jointly. They have $175,000 of earned income, $100,000 of net investment income. Total, we're saying the modified adjusted gross income is $275,000. So that's $175K plus $100K. Looking back again, there's going to be a surcharge on net investment income if that MAGI exceeds $250,000. In this case, there's $275,000, there's excess of $25,000, so there's going to be a surtax for purposes of Medicare of 3.8% times $25,000. You already learned about eligibility for Social Security, knowing that you have to accumulate 40 quarters of credit. It does not have to come in any consecutive order, but it's 40 quarters, and in a given year, the most you can achieve is 4 credits in 1 year, and 1 credit is determined by some dollar amount. Again, the dollar amount tends to go up each year. 2013, it was $1,160. So somebody earning, for example, $5,000 in 2013 would have earned 4 credits. currently insured, as you can see here, is a lower amount. This really kicks in for purposes of survivor and disability income payments. So who's covered by Social Security? Most civilian federal employees hired after 1984 would be covered by Social Security. Members of the U.S. Armed Forces are covered. Most employees of profit and nonprofit organizations and self-employed individuals paying into the Social Security system are covered. Household workers over a wage base, and you know there's been a lot of press on this where household domestic help, lawn gardeners or people helping cleaning in the house over a wage base, there needs to be payments made, and that wage base varies. Right now it's about $1,800. Family employment in the course of business, so when you're employed, you're age 18 or older, you'll be covered by Social Security. You'll be paying in. Signing up for benefits can be easily accomplished, and you can go to Social Security online. You could be helping a client with this. You could be applying for yourself. Note that you should apply 3 months prior to when you're looking for the benefits. They're very helpful, although some of those phone calls you can be sitting there for a while waiting for someone to pick up. But every time I've called, it's been very helpful. So let's look first at the old age benefits, recapping this. Well, you already know that the benefit amount is called the primary insurance amount, is based on the 35 years of highest earnings, taxable Social Security earnings. Those 35 years are index adjusted so that we're looking at some comparable numbers there. It's looking at the average index monthly earnings. To that is applied bend points. And if you take a look at this, if you read your book, the bend points are designed to give a higher percentage for the lower income categories, and as you move up, it gets to be less and less. And that's because Social Security is really designed to be a safety net for the lowest income categories. And that's why the heaviest weighting is in those earlier bend points. Note that the PIA is adjusted for annual cost of living adjustments and also for early or late benefits, and we'll take a look at this in just a moment. We used to get a Social Security statement and came in the mail, and it looked like this. Well, with the budget cutbacks, these have disappeared unless you specifically call and request one, but you can easily go online and determine what the PIA is. You can get with your client and go online and also come up with some PIA estimates. Now, a question that you may want to discuss in your forum is the viability of the system, and what does that mean to future PIAs. Some people are saying that the system is going to collapse, there'll be nothing there, but realistically, I think we need to think about there's some risk. This is a pay-as-you-go system. We know that there's more retirees than people working right now, but because people are paying in, I don't believe it's going to go broke. Certainly, you need to consider the issues yourself. However, I think it is prudent to say if you have someone retiring now or close within the next few years, they will most likely get their full PIA. Someone retiring 10 years from now, you could be conservative and just use 85% of the PIA, projected PIA. Maybe for one of your clients retiring in 20 years, you might use 70%. The idea here is we do not know what's going to happen. Personally, I think it's going to be very difficult to do away with Social Security, that Social Security income, because there are so many people in the United States depending on that for a higher percentage than was ever anticipated, and it is a pay-as-you-go system. But again, you have to make the call as the planner. You may say, I'm not going to put any in there. I'm going to plan without it, and then it would just be gravy, so to speak. Or in fact, you may reduce it. Up to you. I think it's a great conversation for your discussion boards. So we said the determination of PIA is based on the highest 35 years, and then there's formulas to figure out what the primary insurance amount, what that monthly payment check would look like. But there can also be additions to that. Additions come in two forms that I already mentioned. One is the annual cost of living increases, not guaranteed, but it tends to go up with some measure of cost of inflation. Also, one of the suggestions for fixing the system would be to lower this annual cost of living increase for some other index, one that's lower than we're looking at right now. And also delayed retirement benefits. Now, let's refer down to that last line, 1943 or later. You can see that the yearly rate of interest is 8%. And that's per year. That's not compounding. So let's just say that you had full retirement at 66 and delayed until you became age 70. You would have an increase of 8 times 4. So that would be 24%. So you would receive 124%, or excuse me, 132% of your projected PIA, right? That's a lot, especially in this interest rate environment. Of course, we don't know how long we'll live. And so the impact there, certainly for someone living, I believe someone living into their 80s and above, it makes tremendous sense if you can to delay taking this, or someone in their late 70s. It makes tremendous sense. You can see the scale right there. So 2 ways that PIA can increase: the annual cost of living, the delayed retirement benefits. But likewise, that PIA can go down. And the reductions can be due to early retirement. Should you continue working while you're collecting Social Security prior to your full retirement age, family benefit limitations, and there is some taxation of benefits that we'll take a look at. So what is the early retirement? Well, there's a scale based upon when you were born that says when your full retirement age is. The reduction factor is 0.5% per month for the first 36 months, then 0.512% for each month in excess of 36 months. For someone who is going to retire at age 65 and they take it at 62, their early retirement would be that would produce a monthly check of about 70% of full retirement PIA. So you can see that is meaningful as well. Earnings from continued employment. If you take early retirement, you're going to lose $1 for every $2 of earnings above a threshold amount. And in the year that you become 65, $1 reduction for every $3 of earnings, again above that threshold amount. If this occurs and you're losing some of that, there'll be a recalculation of PIA at full retirement age, which will in fact recover that over time. There's a family benefit limitation that we'll take a look at when we recap family benefits, and taxation of benefits. So what is this idea of taxation of Social Security benefits? In a nutshell, for many of your financial planning clients who have, income, they'll be taxed on about 85% of their benefits, because the threshold, which is right now $44,000 for married filing jointly, anything over 44 and you're going to start being taxed. Below 32, you can see there is none. In between 32,000 and 44, if the PIA base and threshold, then generally up to 50% of the benefits are taxable. So as a rule of thumb, taking early retirement benefits and making income along the way, you're looking at generally being taxed on some of those Social Security incomes in excess of 85%. This table is a recap of old age benefits. You already discussed this in your prior lectures. Notice the worker will be eligible and his or her family, including the spouse, married 1 year or more, former spouse who was married 10 years and not remarried, and dependent children or children with disabilities. And more of the details, what age they're able to do that, is shown on this slide. Benefits are a percentage, the family benefits are a percentage of the worker's PIA and are subject to that family benefit maximum. Again, as you discussed in a prior video, that equals about 150 to 180% of the worker's PIA. So the worker would get 100% of his or her PIA. The family would be eligible for somewhere in that 150% range. Now, let's say a situation where both spouses have been working. That means that your clients may be eligible for benefits under more than one plan, either their own or as the spouse of a fully insured worker. And you're entitled to the highest amount. You're not entitled to both. It's not double dipping. But the idea here is that maybe the worker, if the spousal benefits exceed their own, then they would receive 100% of their own benefits, and then the excess from the spousal portion, which would again equal what it would have been under the spousal. So it's the highest of either your own or your spousal benefit, but when they actually pay that, it's included your 100% of your own and the balance coming out of the second one. Remember earlier we were talking about the different breakpoints and how breakpoints rewarded the lower income categories, because that's what Social Security is meant to is for. It's a safety net for those who really need us to keep food on the table, heat in the house. So you can see here on this slide, it takes a look at the salary range versus the replacement ratio. At the lower salary ranges, Social Security replaces a larger percentage of that pre-retirement income than it does for the more highly compensated. And that's the purpose of Social Security. Survivor benefits. So the fully insured worker passes away and they have family. The slides on this, the tables on this slide summarize the benefits available to the fully insured worker. And you can see there would be benefits for the spouse, the former spouse, the dependent children, and disabled children, and also dependent parents 62 years or older, right? Parents who depended on that worker who just passed away. In the respect that the worker is not fully insured but currently insured, then we're looking at the spouse, the former spouse, and the children who would receive survivor benefits. Moreover, there is a one-time death benefit of $225 paid to the widower who is living in the same house, and then it goes down the line from then. Disability benefits. Eligibility. Fully insured, currently insured if disabled, begins before age 31, or at least half the quarters between age 21 and time of eligibility. In order to be eligible, besides that, must be considered to be disabled for 12 months, expected to be disabled for 12 months, or until death. Notice also there's a 5-month waiting period. Getting disability benefits is not easy. And many times, if you're helping your client, you're going to have to go back and reapply for these several times in a row. Typically, persistence pays off, because that's a tough hurdle. Considered to be disabled for at least 12 months, or it's going to lead to death, right? How long do the benefits continue? Until the disability ends, death occurs, or you reach full retirement age. At that point in time, the benefits become old age retirement benefits, not disability benefits. The table on this slide depicts who can receive disability benefits. And again, this would be subject to the maximum family cap. Worker entitled to 100% family benefits, up to that 150, 100 cap. Same numbers that you looked at under old age. And by the way, these slides are available to you among this week's resources. Supplemental security income is another type of benefit. It's funded by the Treasury through general tax revenues. These supplemental security incomes are monthly payments to the aged, blind, and disabled persons in the very low income categories. And that ends this presentation.